you go back to auditions, that 10 minutes or whatever it is, that's your time.
Oh, yeah.
And
Love
so
that.
go in there and kick ass. I remember when I was a young actor, I would work on my shit, and I'd say to myself, this is my job. This is my job. This is my job. Somebody's going to have to take it from me. It was a positive reinforcement for myself, and to know that I'm going to go in that room and I'm going to show them what I have to offer. But if you go in there going, oh, if I'm so wrong for this, or they'll never cast me, or they'll never, that energy, it seeps into the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
You know,
even if it's like, if it's desperation, like I need this job, right? You got to go in there and just make a fan. If it's not your job, at least make a fan from them. Like they will remember you. They will know you. They will know who you are because you went in and crushed it.
One of the things that is so exciting is how many wonderful dramatic roles you all have played and continue to play. And I'm wondering, and I know there are so many actors who would love to know what really draws you to playing dramatic roles. Edwin, would you like to start us off?
Oh, yeah. No, sure. Right there in the fire. For me, I love the challenge of doing dramatic roles, being able to really transform yourself, send yourself to a place where, only you exist in a way. When it comes to drama, as artists, I feel like we have a lot to play with. Bouncing off of other actors and being able to really just discover new ways to kind of interact within the scenes. Being able to play angry, personalities, but so forth in 3, 4, 5 different ways. It's just a challenge for me. I love comedy. Comedy's fun, but drama really just drives me as an artist.
Fabulous. Jeremy, you want to jump in?
So, yeah, I don't know. It's funny, when I was younger, I used to think drama, I mean, this was in the 90s, I guess, when I was starting out. I just thought drama was the real thing, That was when we all sort of, all those great movies from the 70s were living strong in at least my brain. And so there was also, I was in a place where I was trying to figure out why I was doing this thing and why I didn't go to college, and it was such a strange thing to do, and I felt like for it to be worth it, I had to kind of choose people that were different than me, and it had to come in this sort of package of a drama. Comedies felt, not serious enough to spend my time and or just put all this effort or base my life on or whatever. That changed a lot as I got older. And like the only project I did during that time that was really successful was a comedy. So for many years, I was really hoping that I could be in something that really worked. That was a drama, but eventually, at this point now, I like both experiences. I did a comedic show for 3 years before the show I'm on now, and really enjoyed that thing because I felt like my job was to just be in a good mood all day long and feel light and feel not that that's what comedy's about, but in this particular case, it felt like I had young kids at the time too, so that really worked for I guess I'd say with drama. There was a period where I was doing some stuff that was maybe a little bit more intense, but I didn't have a family. I didn't have a life that I had to protect. And so it didn't really matter. It wasn't until I had a family that I found myself in a couple of moments trying to figure out how to, not come home and feel like I had somehow cheated on my family or somehow disconnected. And that was a weird experience. But yeah, I could talk. I'm not good at sort of small answers, so I'm just going to stop myself somewhere in my rambling to let somebody else talk.
Oh, that was very insightful, though. Thank you so much, Jeremy. William, looks like, do you want to tell us?
I mean, I'm sorry. I didn't mean
Michael, jump in. Yes.
Yeah.
I just like to work. I don't care if it's drama or comedy. It's usually drama because I'm not really good at comedy. So it's not really a choice that it's kind of made for me. I'm not, I've done a few comedies and a few times it's been okay, but usually it's not very good. So drama is just, I think, something that I actually think, I don't know if you're, we are gifted at certain things. I think, at least for me, comedy is harder.
Yeah.
Drama.
For
drama. Sure. Drama is, it just feels, is if you like to figure out why someone is going through something and the journey of them trying to get out of it, and all those complications, what I want, what I need, and what the obstacles and the stakes and all, it just, I don't know, it comes more naturally, I think, for most actors. I don't know, for me, for sure. And comedy
that's a skill set.
Yeah, it's way.
That's timing. That's, your body, it's very much physical as well. I agree, Michael. Comedy is hard. And you gotta give it up to like stand-up comedians who can get up there and just sit there and tell jokes, and still command an audience of 30,000.
And even in film or TV, when they're one-liners, but it's they're telling a beautiful story through comedy.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's scary for me, for somebody like me.
Yeah, it's also maybe a little naked doing comedy, because comedy is so dependent on the culture that's going on right now. Things that were funny 10 years ago,
not funny now. Yeah,
it's funny now just because what we're comfortable, what we understand is different. So maybe there's a feeling of everyone understands pain and so all that stuff that kind of is more easy to sort of to land in and not feel like people won't get you.
Right.
Well, for me, I'll weigh in a little bit. When you asked earlier what draws us to dramatic roles, and for me, I'm not really drawn to a dramatic role. I'm just drawn to complex story and complex character, whether it's comedy or drama. My approach to both is pretty much the same, as long as I can, find the objective of the character and what his, ultimate goals are in the scene and the overall story. As long as I keep everything real and grounded and have real, choices with stakes, whether it's comedy or drama. Like, I like both. I'm more drawn to dramedy, or dramas with levity, or comedies with sentiment. That's me as a fan, the kind of work I like to watch, the kind of shows and movies and things that I love are things that have me crying 1 minute, laughing the next. So I love to participate in that kind of storytelling. I love to make people laugh, love to make people cry. And I've, in my career, luckily had kind of success in both comedy and drama. And I was on a dramedy for a while, and you get to have a lot of fun and laughs in one episode. The next episode, you're maybe dealing with something dark. And I love that. I love going back and forth between the two kind of mediums. I think it flexes so many different muscles in so many different ways as an actor. So I kind of just approach both comedy and drama the same way, and I'm attracted to both.
All right, I think it's my turn.
William, it's your turn.
Your turn, Will.
What took you so long?
Tie it together, Will.
Yeah. Go back to the question, when we all start, that's the other thing that you young actors need to know is all of us on this panel, we started somewhere and we had a vague idea of what this craft was. And first At first, when you look at drama, you're like, oh, I can cry. But then as the career starts evolving, it becomes this thing where, okay, I have to meet the family that I'm about to play, and I have to bear this person's soul. And so it becomes more than just, oh, I can cry. It becomes this responsibility to show this real person. And it's terrifying. It's no less than terrifying playing someone that actually existed. And to be drawn to it, it's, I don't know, for me, when I'm scared and terrified of something, to me, that means I'm supposed to do it. It means, I don't know, it means all these things together. And I had this tremendous support from my father when I went to go film, when I got the call to go do Killers of Flower Moon. My dad just said, show me your soul, son. And then that just unlocked everything. So when I get drawn to these things now, it's gone from, oh, I can cry, to I'm going to bear this person's soul and find their truths right when cameras are rolling. And we start taking our own permissions, our own liberties, with every syllable, every beat, every breath. And it becomes more of a riff on what the other guy's doing, what your scene partner's doing. It evolves from, okay, I can cry to make me look good, to how can I make my scene partner look amazing? So that's the high I get from dramatic roles, is when you get to riff with even anyone at any level in the craft, and then you see them discover and grow for themselves, and then you get to be on the sidelines with them. You go from being a fan in the stands, watching and growing up with these icons, to a player in the locker room, a player in the field, and you're taping out beside your heroes. And it's terrifying and life-giving all at once. And then someone says your picture wrapped, and one of the best things of your life is just done. And then you got to go for the next one. And then, for me, I was just home, like currently right now, I was home in Canada for 6 days, and then I flew off. And then now I'm in Salt Lake City, filming the next one. I was just doing a photo shoot. And I'm a small town guy, and it's you young actors. It doesn't matter where you're from. Where I'm from is population 2,000. We just got pavement. Like it doesn't, you don't have to be, a lot of young actors that come in, when they say, I want to do it, but I feel I'm too this and too that, I'm not enough this, I feel like who you are right now is perfect to tell a story. There's just, as long as you can tell your truth, I think so what draws me to drama is the truths that we get to say, that we get to find while the cameras are rolling. Like, I feel like these guys here that I'm just looking at these names here, all you guys, and I was surprised. I was like, me too? But I'm like, yeah, because we got all kinds of, like, I was seeing all your guys' IMDb, and then there's my name in there. So you young actors, you go from just drama class to being mentioned, and then being peers, and then being in the locker room with these kind of people to tell a story, and they accept you with open arms. I can see in every one of these eyes that you guys would accept me at any level of my resume, and just help me tell the story. That's what draws me to drama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a great answer, and humbled by the answer as well.
Thank you, Edwin.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Those are just so. There's so many sides to being an actor and having an acting career, and for those of us that are trying to find a way for moving into the roles and working through the audition process. I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about that, because being on set is a very different experience than being at home and preparing a tape to send in, right? And that's where we are these days. So would love to hear some of your insights about how you prepare when you are up for a role and you're sending in an audition tape, if you still do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, go Will. Go ahead.
Yeah, I went last time, so I pick this round. Holy cow! How do I prepare for a role? It goes. I mean, okay, I'm going to speak to the amateur. We get this thing called a breakdown in our email, and it roughly expresses what the character is. And then there are sides. It's like a mini script from the whole actual script. It goes from like 3 to 5 to 7 pages. And then it has the name of the character, be it Doug or James or Rick or something like that. And then you...
Or Rick James.
Yeah, or Rick. Did I just say Rick James? Did I put
You said James or Rick.
Okay, or Rick James. Yeah.
Dad jokes. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So we look at it, and when I first started, I used to follow the breakdown like militantly. I used to follow every syllable and everything. I call it handing in my homework. I used to just hand in my homework to do exactly what the casting director wanted. And then I wouldn't hear anything. And then years would go by, years and years, and I'd be working a 9-to-5 job. And I'd work a construction job, and I'd work my way up to a foreman. And then I get called for this other role on Netflix. And this guy goes from, hey, you had really good authority, you had such vulnerability, what we need is some authority. And I was like, I used to be foreman. And he's like, yeah, be a foreman. So I showed him foreman. He calls back and says, you got the role on Netflix. In my first 4 episodes I ever did. So in that sense, how I prepare, sometimes even the chapters in my life that I feel like I'm failing as an actor, working a 9-to-5 job was actually preparing me for 4 episodes on my first Netflix thing. So life prepares you young people, you young guys coming in, wanted to do this. Everything that you've lived through is preparing you for these stories, and there are so many stories, and there you have your place there. So when I prepare today, when sometimes I just now it went from, okay, I know every note, to I'm just going to bring my guitar and just riff and just find out what the other person's doing. And we're just going to riff back and forth and then see how we sound together. And when the other guy gets it, now I know the other guy, I have their phone number and I see them, and I'm like, I text them like, dude, you did awesome on that. Part of the other guy getting the job is, the bigger part is congratulating that person, because we know them at this point. We all know the other guy. It's just like, hey, because then there's it should be me. It goes from it should be me to, dude, you were awesome. You know, when I watched you do that thing, and you know, I feel like preparing from a place of humility is way better than when I first started. I mean, the ego gets you in the door, but it'll also get you kicked out, I feel. Humility, I feel like, sustains a career and gets people to like working with you. So preparing for me is just getting a sense and feeling it, and also adding some things that aren't even written. I mean, I can see all these guys can add things that aren't even written there. I mean, at this pro level, you see things and moments and beats that aren't even written in the sides, and then you express those, and then you get a Zoom session.
Yeah.
You get called in for the Zoom session, and then you explore what these little moments are even further. And then we get a call from our agent saying, hey, we're in the mix. And then we get called. I've gotten in the mix, and then And then we get a call. At this level, we're not like anxious or, oh my God, I hope I got the role. I mean, for me, I don't know about you guys, but I forget about it. I mean, like after the tape is off, my brain doesn't even, I remember one time I got the offer and I was like, what was that? It was 10 months ago. We read for it, and production, there all kinds of weird things happened to production. And it was like, I was like, oh, it was that. So, so in terms of preparation, that's all we have on our side. In terms of wondering who got the role, you don't need, you young guys that are coming in, you young people that are coming in, you don't need to do that. Focus on life, focus on your loved ones. There's so many, and then let that phone call be a beautiful surprise that, I'm gonna, like for me right now, I'm in Salt Lake City. I haven't been here before. We go to cities and places we've never been to before. That's the beauty about this job. I love it. Okay, that's me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback off of that, the audition process has changed drastically, especially since COVID. And I think the one thing that we as artists were relying on is the feedback from the casting director, right? We were able to go in, and if something was slightly off, we were able to get some advice real quick and, give a second take or give a third take, switch it up. Now we are 100% dependent on our choices. I would, in my way of prepping for an audition, once again, life experiences. I'm 40 years old, there's a lot of things I've been through, a lot of things I've seen, a lot of things that I would like to see and go through. So I think education is one of the biggest keys to auditioning, really understanding the world, how the world works psychologically. And then also, like you said as well, being able to take words. When we get scripts, I call them skeletons. And I say it's up to the artist to fill out the body of the work. And, a lot of times we get a skeleton, and sometimes, we have an innate ability to kind of just rework things in a more natural state, in a more natural ability, so that when it comes across on screen, it feels more natural, it sounds more natural. So a lot of times, and it's no disrespect to writers, but, when we do get these skeletons, it is up to the artist to bring something different. Bring something new, bring something you haven't seen before. Don't be afraid to make choices. You don't know what choice is going to be the best one, but it is part of your makeup as an artist to be able to be a shapeshifter. That's who we are as actors. We are able to embody criminals to painters to doctors to, scientists. This is what we do. And in doing so, it is our job also to make sure that we, study up on certain things when we get certain roles. I had an audition for a show on HBO, and basketball and whatnot. And obviously you can't play basketball in your home. So, what's the energy you're going to give them? What's the vibe? But I did my research. I looked at, countless interviews, countless games, just to have an idea of what this person sounded like, how he moved on the court. And even though I wasn't going to be able to do a lot of that in the audition, at least I understood what the essence was. So, do your homework, especially if you're going out for these roles that, are very specific. A Navy SEAL is different than a Marine Corps vet. Like they're two different people. They're different than the Air Force and the Navy. They're all different. And so you have to approach these roles differently. So, education and just, not being afraid to be different or do something different.
It's so funny, it's like we all are different people. So also we all like different performances. We all are work differently. So that was for me a big thing to learn. I remember I did a lot of plays when I was young and whatever. I wasn't and I got to move in, and then I couldn't get a job for a while, and then I was going to start a class, and I remember a director friend of mine called me and said, "Don't take the class. You're going to screw it up. You're going to mess yourself up." And I took the class, and I started taking a lot of classes, and they did mess me up for a while because I think all our brains work differently. Mine works in a very specific way. And man, all these classes, so much were about like, got to do it this way. This is the way you're going to do it. If you want to be successful, you got to do it this way, and you got to. And it wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for me. Like there was, it wasn't good for me in terms of figuring out how to do something that felt that I would like, or it felt that I'd feel good about, which is its own thing, which I had to discover on my own. What is it that makes me say, oh yeah, that feels like me, or something that feels like I'm offering something special. That's kind of what it comes down for me to feel like whatever my obsession with creating things has to do with creating something that only I could have created. So so for me, I had to learn, like my first 5 years of jobs or whatever, I would work so hard. I'd read all these books and I'd do all the stuff, and I'd show up to the thing and I'd try to make all my faces to because I read all these books, and I wanted to, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know like what I was coming off as, and I would just walk away being like, what was that? And then I'd see it and I wouldn't understand. So actually watching all this stuff was really helpful to me. I remember somebody told me a story long when I was really young about Timothy Hutton, who won the Oscar as a young kid with Robert Redford directing him. And there was a scene where he's looking out the window, and I was like, oh, he's so amazing. He's going this thing. The story was that Redford told him to he had him do it a few times, and finally he was like, just count to 10 in your head and look out the window. And that was what he got. And that's kind of one of the things that I started to realize is like, sometimes, I'm not going to be feeling one thing. I'm not going to be necessarily feeling the thing that is coming across. So there's a lot of trust that has to come with it. And so for me, I'm always trying to trick myself to this day. I'm always trying to trick myself to not care too much. That's just for me, because if I care too much, then I'll just freeze up, and I won't be able to find something that feels like, you can give it there, but not care too little either. And also I do believe in research. I like knowing all the stuff, but playing a real guy was really hard for me, because I was got in my head about that. I want to do all this stuff. So it's real easy for me to get frozen up. And again, some stuff that I think I was awful in, other people have been like, oh, I thought you were great in that. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So you can't be too you can't get in your head about it too much. But so for me, I think, and the auditioning, just to bring it back to the auditioning, was the best way. I was horrible. I would do everything in auditions. I would just think, I thought so much in my life about how to get somebody to choose me. What a horrible thing to think about in your life. I spent 10 years thinking, how do I get these people to choose me? It's just an awful place to be in your thing. That's not what life should be about, really. But I did it for a long time, and it didn't work at all. And then what worked is then just figuring out that it has very little to do with what you do. Oftentimes they know right away if you're the guy or not, or that you reminded them of the person or the thing. There's so much luck that goes into it that you just kind of figuring out how to be a person and bring whatever you want to bring to a room. Or to a scene that makes you feel good about it. And then the rest is just kind of out of your hands. But I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. So
I wanted to piggyback on what you said about the class experience that you had where it messed you up sometimes. And for me, and it applies to auditioning, because I think for me, preparation is super important. And my class experience happened to be with Michael Beach and Eric LaSalle. And I took a intensive with these guys where you had to do the same scene 4 weeks in a row. And you put in all this work, and Eric would just lay into just just mean as fuck. And I remember finally my breakthrough was in the fourth time doing a scene. I was like, fuck it. You know what? I've been putting all this work and doing the damn thing, and nothing's going to please these guys. So fuck it. So I threw it all out and just was present and just was there. And afterwards, these guys were like, that's what we're talking about right there. And I asked Michael, I asked Eric, not you, Michael. I asked Eric, I said, why the fuck were you so mean to me the whole time? He's like, I was mean to you because I knew you will work. I knew you had something. If I wasn't mean to somebody, they probably ain't gonna work. And what I got from that was you put in all this work to prep. So you embody the character, you embody you know what your role in the story is when it comes to so that when you do audition, put in all this work, and then I walk in and I throw it all out, and I just am there. I just be, and just like William was saying earlier, like to vibe off of what someone's giving you is, it shows that you are present and alive, and that's what I try to do in auditions. That's why I hate self-tapes, because and I haven't done a ton of them because I hate them. So sometimes I just say I'm not doing it because it drives me crazy because I don't get to work. And also I think a very important part, I wish we can go back to in-person auditioning a little bit more, because part of the thing about, I think, trying to get a job or trying to hire someone even from the other side is you want to make sure you're not hiring an asshole. So I can use charm sometimes, not use it, but it's hopefully I have charm. It's not a tool, it's a personality trait, I hope. But at least I can get in there and if they know that I'm accessible, if they want to adjust something with me, then I'm accessible, because some actors don't feel accessible to them. And if it's for a television show, which could go on for 3 to 6 seasons, why would you want to work with someone who's not accessible, who you can't work with, who you can't, mold into the story you're trying to tell? Because ultimately, television is a showrunner's medium, right? And in film, a director wants to collaborate with this entire cast. It's an ensemble, right? So, going back to what I was saying from the beginning, the class situation actually was my breakthrough, because it showed me how to put in the work and then throw it all out. And that's all Michael Beach and Eric LaSalle for me.
It's funny going on.
Now I platform Michael Beach to talk.
Yeah.
No, John, I do the same thing, man. I read it. People call it memorizing. I don't like that word, memorizing. I work on it, and then when I tape it, I literally do. I toss it out, because I feel like if you're still trying to hold that prep in the brain, then the brain becomes part of the scene, and this thing will F up the whole audition. It'll royally fuck the audition. I mean, young guys thinking, I got to memorize that. No, this thing that I tell young actors, this thing's only good for getting my coffee. That's all it's good for. I don't bring it to the scene with me. This guy waits outside. This guy is the one that leads the way. And this guy too, the gut and the soul. I mean, that's where the camera pushes in on our gut and soul, and we're finding things while the camera is rolling. This thing can't even do that. It's trying to remember that one little syllable, but this thing says, my heart thinks it's this word. It feels this word. And then this group right here in this panel will do it in a split second. And then the thing is, you young guys will do this big improvisational thing for the first time, and that'll be so good that it'll be ignored. The director won't even adjust it, and then if you're new, you think, oh my God, I'm being ignored. But when we're ignored at this level with these guys here in this panel, it's a no factor thing. We don't even think about it. We just get back to our one. And then we explore what that was or could be in the next thing. So yeah, just throw it away and then just riff. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, going off what Jeremy was saying before, when you care too much, I feel like that's when this guy comes in. He comes in, this brain comes in, and then you're working from a place of anxiety. And for me today, I work from a place of peace. I think it's our job as the actors to bring our peace to the chaos, because movie sets are inherently chaotic. Everything's going wrong every day. They're pretty much planning a wedding every day. and we're the ones that have to land and then work from a place of quiet and peace and find something. Even though there's 200 moving pieces going on around us, we're the ones that are centered and quiet. And so that actually, that helps everyone else feel a mode of safety, be it, if they're whichever department, hair, makeup, the vis effects guys, the grips, as long as they can feel safe with your presence walking past. I feel like that's what comes from what Jerry was saying, was caring too much. I think we come from a place, I think the actor gets anxious in their storytelling. And I think for me, I've done my best work in the past few years coming from a place of relaxation, centeredness, calm pool, whatever you want to call it. Tossing it out, not caring at all. It's just refreshing hearing you guys talk, because I'm like, that's exactly what hearing Jon saying toss it away or caring too much. And yeah, I'm just honored. I'm truly honored right now.
Michael, what's your viewpoint on that class that you were in with Jon?
Well, Jon, I just want to be clear. LaSalle was meaner than I was, right?
That's true. That's definitely true. Come on, it's Eric LaSalle.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I started in the mid 80s, and the energy I had when speaking of the being in the room, that was such a great, I was so on fire. I was so ready to share what the preparation that I did. For me, preparation is everything. I believe in it wholeheartedly. And there are actors who like to just wing it. And I don't, it doesn't matter to me how an actor works. That's up to them. You know what I mean? But whatever they find, whatever way that they find to tap into whatever it is that, we're supposed to tap into. For me, it is preparation. And I do like the heart and the gut, but for me, the mind is equally as important. I need that to help me navigate what my character wants and the obstacles that are in their way, and more importantly, how in particular they go about getting what they want, because I think that's the thing that makes people different. Our wants and our needs and our obstacles can be similar, but the defining thing for a character is how they go about getting that or trying to get it. So that's really key to making a distinction between this character I played before and this character I'm playing now, and hopefully some character I'm going to play in the future, even though, because we are real people, a lot of times we're very similar because we're our instrument, right? So, it's not like there's not only a few, but there's the actors that can really totally, completely transform, that's pretty remarkable. And personally, I think many of us have a wheelhouse, and we're usually in that wheelhouse. Not that we can't break out of it from time to time, but we're in that wheelhouse of the whatever our strengths are and who we are as people, as William is saying. But for me, when you audition, you really need to know what it is that you're trying to do. So like William says, you're not trying to memorize lines. At some point, you do have to get the lines down, but what do the lines mean? Where are they taking you? That's what's important, not the line itself. If you mess up a line, but the moment, the intention is ridiculously on point,
that's all they need.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, was great, but he fucked up my line.
Hey, man.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody's worrying about that, that's probably a job you don't want to really be on, you know. But I just think that in auditioning, especially, you know, I think a lot of actors today are not happy with having to self-tape. Some are.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, some absolutely eat it up.
I got friends that love it.
Yeah,
I actually do love it. I'm sorry, guys. I kind of love it, man.
I'm so old school. I need to be in the room.
Me too.
I want to look Seraphin in the face. I want I can't. It's so, you know, 35 plus years in the industry. I think that's one of the weirdest, like, oddest changes for myself. Mm-hmm. Like, it is such an odd change.
I got a guy that we just Zoom wherever I'm at, and we do this, and there's a way you can pin yourself on the screen, then record yourself, and then I send him the sides, and then he reads it wherever I am, at a hotel, whatever gig or anything. Michael said, in terms of how to get what you want. I'm speaking to the amateurs, the guys that want to do this and don't know how to do it. What Michael's talking about, I would advise you to expand your vocabulary, specifically in terms of verbs. So when, let's say, a guy's about to blow up, he's got a gun or something, and he's pointing it all over. And the simple action, if something's about to blow up, you want it to diffuse. So the verb is diffuse. So even if my line is just say, okay, and then you put the action diffuse behind it, it's just like, okay. And then you can mix two verbs together. You know, it could be diffuse. This is the other thing. There's so many verbs. You can mix diffuse with quieten, with befriend and diffuse. And it's like, hey, Michael, okay, just put it down. And then, you know, you can, and there's so many verbs. So you young guys, just expand your vocabulary on the verbs. They have to be able to achieve what Michael's talking about in terms of the objective. So you want to diffuse a guy with a gun. So, and then there's I don't know how many verbs out there. There's like, that's the other thing. There's so many different ways to diffuse someone. But when you get there on the day, you have to toss it all out, because you don't know who you might just meet the guy with the gun, and then he might bring something else. And then, so that's when the heart and the gut, the brain supplied all of these verbs, and then the heart and the gut just kind of, okay, I'm going to use these in a split second. And the camera sees it for the first time on the push. And then we hear moving on. And I'm like, well, I didn't feel like I did anything. I don't know if you feel like we're moving on. And I was like, hey, I didn't get to act yet. I didn't get to show what I was preparing on. Yeah, no, it's cool to hear Michael say that. Yeah.
Talking about staying in with your focus on with your character, and when you're on set and you're doing the work, how do you manage in a dramatic situation when you are in between takes? Do you stay in character? What do you do for that next time when you're going to have another opportunity? Say we're not moving on yet, but we're going to try it a few more times. For you, if anyone wants to speak to this, where do you find that staying right in your character or coming back out of it a little bit is helpful to you? I think that might be something that could be helpful to some of our actors that are watching.
I think if I know the character well enough, know what I'm supposed to be doing and seeing what my character's responsibility and the story is, I don't need to stay in character. I try to laugh as much as possible in between takes, because first of all, I'm having fun. That's one of the reasons I love this job, is because it's fun. It's interesting. I get to work with interesting and fun and funny people. Usually most actors I know are funny. So why not take advantage of that and laugh as much as possible and have as much fun as possible. And when it's time to get back to work, you get to work and you find it. You find yourself. You find your characters. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that as well. Especially, you know, doing high energy, high, emotion scenes. Sometimes it's, you need to break, a lot of times you're bringing in your personal life story to these moments, and depending on what they are, you need a reprieve. So, I agree with that, but also I know there's been projects I've been on where for a good hour, I was just locked in. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want nobody to say anything to me. Like just leave me alone. Let me stay in my zone. And then when we get to lunch, I all smiles and I'll talk to you and we'll chop it up again. But there are moments where I need to be within myself amongst these 200 people. And even when I'm here in action, it's just me, depending.
And Edwin, would you say too, then, like, say you're coming into a heavy situation that day on set, when you're in the makeup chair, hair and makeup, are you in that zone for yourself before as you're getting prepared? And how are you letting other people know around you? Like, for instance, people that want to help you, like hair and makeup, that where you are in your
So for me, when I step into the makeup room, a lot of times people know it's going to be a heavy day for me. It is an energy, a respectful energy that we have. There'll be days I'll get in my chair and I'll just close my eyes and they'll know exactly like he needs to be in this moment, and they're very respectful. They won't say anything until, after we're done. But for the most part, it is an unspoken language now, especially when you've worked with a production company or group of people for a while. They kind of know your ins and outs, your do's and don'ts. And if it is a new set, hey guys, I need to center myself, please. I just need to focus. Heavy day. And, as long as you're respectful about it all, I think everything works well.
I agree with both what Jon and Edwin said. It just depends on the situation, But I, more often than not, especially as I get older, Edwin even said this, I need the break.
The break.
I can't, and I don't see it as coming in and out of character, because I don't say, I'm in my character now. But it's just in and out of moments or in and out of feeling or vibe, it's, and sometimes it's just too much to stay there. And then I feel like if I do that and then I go back and do another take, that I'm not available to myself because I'm trying to be in this thing, and so I don't want to do that too much. I want to let it go, and then maybe I'll find something more or different or more, because I was able to let it go, you know what I mean? And trying to say, I'm going to hold this in and I want to redo this moment. That moment's gone. It's over.
You want to get stuck in that choice.
Yeah. Stuck in the choice, and you're not allowing yourself to find other choices or and they could be slightly different. It doesn't have to be. But so I do like to release myself from the much more often than trying to stay there.
Yeah, because you don't know what your scene partner is going to do when they come back.
Nope.
So you have to be available to that.
Yep.
And what about, go ahead.
I'll say something about that.
I was going to ask you something, Jeremy.
So what's that?
I was going to ask you something, but go ahead and say, and then I'll get to you.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff that was just said, but I think I had something I want to say, which was, I don't think of it too much as staying in character exactly. Well, first of all, I'm on a show for a long time, and if you're doing 10 months out of you're on a show, I think it's in my crew. They're there all day long. You know what I mean? I want to keep it light and have fun with everybody and make it feel like more like a party. So otherwise they're away from their families and shit. And, I don't like to do that. But but I do get it. And sometimes I have done it. I mean, like Christian Bale was talking about how he did the movie with Chris Rock, and the first few days he was like hanging with him and having such a great time. And after a couple of days he had to stop, because then when he was in the scene, he just couldn't break out of like, I'm Christian Bale talking to Chris Rock. And I get that. So I get that dynamic of like, of just, when you're shooting the shit with somebody, that's in there, that's in how you see them and how they see you. And so I get kind of like stepping away in that sense, in the sense that also like in a sense of like with therapy, you kind of have to rid yourself the responsibility of taking care of people around you. And I definitely have that myself. So if it's a specific role or a specific thing, it's probably is better for my performance if I can rid myself of that responsibility to like be who I am to everybody, which is a lot of responsibilities, as I'm neurotic myself in that way. So it can be helpful to do that thing, but there's two opposing answers. But what was your question?
Well, my question was working long term on a character that it is a heavy show. So it's FBI is not a comedy. So at the end of the day, what do you do to sort of differentiate? Okay, I've been this character all day doing the work, even though you're taking the breaks in between, so that when you go home, do you have specific things that you do for yourself so that you really can feel like you're not still in that? Or do you feel like by the end of the day, you're just easily back to you?
Yeah, I got no problem with that on this thing. I mean, that's not, it's more just, it's just, you're tired because you want to accomplish all the things you're doing throughout the day. You know what I mean? It's not to say that there hasn't been times more in plays that I've done where you're trying to stay in a thing to figure out a thing. And then that's hard. That's the only time I've had it to really figure out how to leave that behind. But I find doing whatever it is, if you're on a set, you're surrounded by 60 people, you got these marks, you have these cameras, it's a job, how do I tell the story? How do I kind of get something in it that I'm proud of and makes me feel like I'm putting myself in it and I'm connected to it and all that stuff, and work with all this shit with you can't excuse my language, with the camera operator and all this stuff. That's a big part of that. You're just tired at the end of the day, I think. And then also, I don't have that on this one, but I think for a lot of, especially newer actors, or if the project is new, a lot of us do go home afterwards thinking like, oh, should I have done this? Should I have done that stuff? So I think there's some of that goes along with, I don't do it much anymore, but I know a lot of my career was filled with that kind of stuff. So I think that's probably more what you're going home with, is like letting go. I mean, like, I did what I did and just, I'm not thinking about it anymore. And the choices, you know what I mean? Because I try to not, if I'm doing real good, I'm not remembering too well what I did. And so you have to, let that go. I don't know if that's true, but anyway, talk some nails talk.
Hey, do you guys, sorry, going off what you said, do you guys ever, off of what he said, do a thing and then you watch it and then you're like, I don't remember doing that like at all? Or seeing it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think, when you're having, like you said, that natural connection with somebody, your performing partner, they do tend to push you to do things that may be outside of what you naturally may be thinking in the moment.
That's the only time I feel good, is if I don't know. If I've seen something that I planned and like worked out in my room and then I did it again, even if it's good to somebody else, I'm like, fuck that guy. He's just doing it. But the only time I like it is when I'm like, oh, I didn't know that I did that.
Exactly.
That's
you want to surprise yourself.
To figure out ways to get something I didn't mean to do. That to me is the best thing you can feel. The best, always the best. So I love when you're like, oh, how did he think of that? He didn't think of it. It just sort of like came there. So to get yourself into that headspace is kind of
just happening. Happening in the moment.
I get a kick out of doing that with our guest stars. We get a lot of guest stars on our show who, some of them are new. Some of them in a sense, like I want them to feel like they've been thrown into a fire, and I want them to be able to, hey, make choices on the fly, as much as you're working, this is study as well, So, as much as I love to receive that, somebody giving me something that's going to make me think differently, it is a lot of fun to kind of just throw somebody a curveball.
That's a hard job, though. Those guest stars. I mean, I'm glad
It is
Law and Order. I had to do like 8 a day, and I always felt a big responsibility because that experience is you go in, you audition a few times, you work your butt off. You're like, I got a thing, and then you like work on it, and then you show up, and the director doesn't feel that comfortable directing the lead, so that he throws all this direction at you because you're there. You get one take. And then you're driving home. So I'm always like there being like, it's doing great. Like, because it's a really, that's the hardest position on the job.
Yeah. Encouragement is a huge part, I think, as far as our guest stars are concerned. Like Jeremy, we spend about 10 months out of the year working with hundreds of different people, different artists who, like I said, are just coming into the game, have been in the game 3, 4, 5 years, but they still feel like they're getting their feet wet. And, I feel it is my responsibility to make that experience, something that will keep them wanting to be in this industry. I started when I was a little kid. And when I've worked with a lot of people who have given me inspiration, from Sam Jackson to Denzel Washington, Don Cheadle, these are the people who I was able to look up to and get my own insight, be it personal or just watching them, and the guest stars they have it the hardest. They really do got to come in. Most of the time they have the paragraphs, and the body of work. We coming in. You did what at what time? Who killed who? All right, cool, great, and we out. But they got the monologues. So there is a lot of pressure on them, and we got to make it a comfortable working environment for everybody. So yeah.
I mean, that's part of the joy, right? Is the connection with the people, right? The crew. Yeah. That's what I found over the years is that, part of the reason I prepare a lot is because I feel responsible. And Jeremy was kind of mentioning this, that I want the crew to go home because they're there all the time, every day.
Yep.
Actors are, depending on your role, but in general, you're not there every day. It's, just not. And so when it's hard, and the crew knows when an actor shows up, you can either see they're happy or they're not, because they're not. This guy's gonna want to talk so much about the scene, and he's gonna this and that, and he's gonna put 2-3 hours extra on the day, or he's gonna complain, or he doesn't know his lines, and and as an actor and as a member of the community, I don't want to add to someone's unnecessarily add to the fact that they're there all the time. And back in the 80s and the 90s, we weren't. Like we could be there for 18, 19 hours. I mean, it was crazy. It's important that we are prepared, because your career is not just based on your work. Your career is based on how you treat people, on on the fact that you deliver in so many ways, and that you, like these guest stars, that you show them respect, you help them feel comfortable to do their best work, and sometimes it's, there are different ways to do that. But I think you can tell too when some of the actors don't give a shit about the guest stars, and you can see it on them, that's, especially as actors, isn't that we're supposed to be collaborating and bouncing off each other and supporting each other, and those are the ways that we do that,
Yeah, usually when they sit me next to I've noticed one time I sat next to my hero and we were waiting for him to set up for 20 minutes. And all it was just 20 minutes of silence between me and Mr. De Niro there. We didn't say a thing. He was sitting on his chair. And sometimes I know the weight that you guys have, you know, you stars have. And you don't need the young eager actor, you know, filling the air with a conversation. So after a while, we get pretty good at reading when not to talk or not to fill the air with chit chat. Just being able to be present and then just watch the grass blow. And then that field was beautiful. It was just 20 minutes of silence while they were sitting up inside, and they called first team. Yeah. First team is when they call the actors. It sounds funny to explain. I'm not explaining to you guys, but to whoever's listening, for when you get to a level, you get called first team. Second team is the guys that the stand-ins. That's. So when we're waiting, actually, when I'm waiting to get called to set, sometimes I just sit perched. And I don't say anything to anyone. And it's not a rude thing either, because there's a way to do it rude. I still, when someone asks me, is there anything you need? And if I'd like a cup of coffee, I'd say, yes, Rachel, I'd like a cup of coffee, just 1 cream, 1 sugar. And there's ways to do it. And you also learn, as the amateur, wanting to get your own cup of coffee. And I was like, well, I did try that. And then the PA got yelled at for it. He's right in front of me. And I'm like, okay, because a producer is paying you a certain dollar amount to be there. They're not paying you to get your own coffee. So when you get into this level, there's a PA that's getting paid to.
I actually have a thing. I have a thing with that. I don't allow PAs to get me anything.
I don't know.
No. I get it. It is part of the system.
But
right?
there's a respectful way to do it, and sometimes they're just looking to be called upon. I just do it in a respectful way so I can still focus on my thing. But when I first started doing it, I was uncomfortable. I didn't want it, and then a PA got reamed out in front of me, and I was like, okay. So I started figuring out. I was like, well, this person likes, to be selected for a certain thing, and I do my best to be respectful off of what Michael said. And if I can, like what you're saying, if I'm not even in the scene, I'll go get my own.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But where it's like we're blocking and, we just landed there. We just got off the plane and we're about to rehearse. That's when I'm like, I can barely comprehend. That's when I ask for the coffee. It's not like every time.
I make the producer give me the coffee. That's the way.
Yeah. Hey, man, two cream, 2 sugars. Not happening.
One thing it sounds like in so many instances, like professionalism and showing up how you want to be, both as an artist and as a professional, will also depend on the situation that you're in. And I think that's also important for the people that are watching this today, is that it's a case-by-case situation. You are an artist, you are a professional, and you'll find your way. And that's also today when we've been talking about this journey as the working actor, the journey. We've heard so many great instances of when you started and where you are now, how you approach the auditions and how you're approaching your work now. And I think that growing is really helpful to everyone who's watching, because as it was said earlier, everyone started somewhere. Because we're getting ready, this has been a wonderful conversation and just filled with information and hard-earned insights, because you've all lived this, what you're sharing with us. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the actors that are watching, either as encouragement or something that you learned that you would like for them to know?
I got one story about my mom. I was watching this is when I'm 19 years old. I don't even have a credit yet. I know I have one credit, and I'm eager to get to the next job. I have no idea how. And I see this werewolf on TV, and mom's doing dishes, and I say, Mom, I'm gonna play a werewolf. You know, I was just so young and arrogant and eager. And mom stops doing dishes, and she says, son, I accept you as a werewolf. But when you're done, I want my son back. So when I play these darker roles, my mom always gets her son back. I have a thing what my dad calls is called de-rolling, just so it keeps me mentally healthy because like right now I'm playing.
What do you call it? What did you call it?
De-rolling.
De-rolling.
De-rolling. It's my dad helped train veterans, war veterans, and he said a lot of them still had their armor on, were still carrying their rifle, and so he helped them put the rifle down and take the armor off, and come back. And so I brought that to my work in terms of de-rolling. So my mom would always get her son back. So you young people, you're gonna travel somewhere emotionally in your soul that you've never been through, and it could be a dark place. And there are ways to come back and give your mom their son or daughter back. So that's, and it could be tomorrow, could be next week, could be next year, could be 20 years from now. I didn't know when I started this, I had 21 years before I'd read for Martin Scorsese. So you young guys, you don't know when your big numbers can get called up. So read out loud every day, get your vocabulary up, talk to a lot of people, and not only talk, but engage and look at them and listen and make it more about them than you. That's what I can impart. My mom, when I had one credit, and I didn't know how I was going to go up against these guys with bigger resumes than me. My mom just said, well, just build your body of work. So you young guys, build your body of work. Get that one credit being the con in the back of or some secretary. You know, it's a credit is a credit. And then you get one more credit, and the next thing you know, you got 6 credits. And next thing I know, I have in my 30s, I blinked and I was in my 30s. Like, how was it? I didn't even think 6 was fathomable. So this is just for the young guys. Build your body of work, get your portfolio, learn to tell the truth, hit a mark, accept help. That's the other big one. Hey man, I need a reader. Can you read for me? And then it doesn't matter, your dude, your best friend or anything, they'll read for you. Don't try to take on material alone. You're up against a team that already has a coach and readers and everything. You know, they have their own tech team. That's what you're up against when you're first starting out. So you just build your own team. You have your own roster when you're reading for this is for the people starting out. That's just learn to do your role, breathe a lot, and a lot of breathing when you're on camera, and relax for that first one. And you're in for a ride. You're just in for a big ride. Next thing you know, you're in a Zoom call with all these people that, you know, that have these resumes and these profiles, and I work with these people, and all this advice you're getting in this SAG in this video does not belong to you. You'll get to a certain level. There's going to be another young actor that's going to know how did you get there, and then you hand off that info again. So everything you learn here doesn't belong to you. It belongs to that next young actor, and they're always there to. I always love helping the new person with what I wish I knew back in. Holy cow, you guys are like working since the 80s. My career started in the early 2000s. I'm still.
Hold up! I didn't start in the '80s. Bro.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, when you say you young people, I feel like you're talking to me too.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I'm just 42.
I certainly started in the 80s.
Well, Michael started in the 80s.
Yeah, Michael definitely in the 80s.
Hold up.
Late 80s, though.
I would say, listen, this is not an industry for the faint of hearts. All right, you know, straight up, you're going to get rejection. Failure is just, you know, another life's lesson towards your success. You know, own who you are as an artist. You know, really fine tune your identity. You know, there's something out there for everyone. Someone is going to see your talent and will want to use it one day. So, you know, staying true to yourself and really not giving into the ideals of what success may be, what it could be, what fame is, what it isn't. None of that's going to help you. You know, none of it. We all have goals. I've seen people come into this game, you know, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you know, my junior, and next thing you know, they got multi-million-dollar deals and da-da-da. It's like, you can't pay.
Don't be mad at me.
Mike already know, right? So, you know, it's like, you know, once you start focusing on somebody else's career and on their path and their trajectory, it'll take you and divert you from what is true for you.
Yeah.
And what is true for you isn't necessarily going to, you know, benefit somebody else, you know? So this industry for me, you know, and I've quit the industry twice, right? I literally had to step away and be like, I need to find myself again. Right. 'Cause I was at a point in my life, in my career where, you know, not that I wasn't happy with the body of work, but I wasn't happy with the quantity, or I wasn't happy with, you know, who I wasn't working with and things of that nature. Right? I was looking at so many things that had nothing to do with me. So, you know, when I say stay in your lane, I'm not saying stay in your lane in a negative way. I'm saying stay in your lane in a sense that you create something for yourself, that you create something that somebody else will want to identify with, and somebody's going to think is new and creative and eclectic and want to invest in that and want to invest in your art and who you are. So that, you know, that'll be my word of wisdom. You know, you're going to hear no's, you're going to have rejections, but it doesn't mean that you aren't the artist that, you know, you're truly reaching out to be.
I want to piggyback what Edwin said. The industry actually quit me. I didn't quit the industry. A couple times. But as far for me, like, I try not to think of it as rejection. I try to think of it as that wasn't my job.
Yeah. So
just stay in the game and be true to yourself and make sure that you are looking at this. It's not a job. You've chosen a life. That's one thing that I like to think about when I didn't choose this life. I didn't choose to be an actor. It's just what I was, right? It's what I am. And my job will come. So if you stay, you know, on top of your game, make great decisions, stay true to yourself, and don't abuse yourself. You're going to make mistakes, but you only learn you learn more from mistakes than you do from successes. Right. So I think, don't look at things like as rejections. Think of it as that wasn't my job, but the next one might be, and just keep working hard. Keep discipline and initiative as two of your, kind of your tent poles. Like, have the discipline to stay, to keep working. I mean, I kind of look at it real quick. This is like an elite sport. If you want to play at the elite, at the top, you got to train. And that's why I was in class and I study as much as I can even today. Is because, when you look at professional athletes, when you look at, Olympic athletes, they train. and train and train. And that's because they're playing at the elite level. So if you want to work in television and film and on stage, on Broadway, off Broadway, regional theater, that is the elite level. So, make sure you are prepared and ready for when you get your opportunity. Yeah. You got to be prepared and ready when you get your opportunity.
Yeah.
Because when that job does come, that's yours. Go ahead.
And right off of that, John, it's true. It's like when you go back to auditions, that 10 minutes or whatever it is, that's your time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so go in there and kick ass. And because all of that energy is seen. If it's negative energy, it's seen, it's felt. If it's positive energy, it's seen, it's felt. So if you say, I remember when I was a young actor, I would work on my shit. And I'd say to myself, this is my job. This is my job. This is my job. Somebody's going to have to take it from me. So, right. And it was a positive reinforcement for myself. And to know that I'm going to go in that room and I'm going to show them what I have to offer. You know what I mean? So that energy, that kind of vibe, even though, and who knows if it will ever come back. Now you have to self-tape, even with the person that you have that you're reading with, take that kind of energy because it's so seen, it's so felt, it's so, but if you go in there going on, if I'm so wrong for this, or they'll never cast me, or they'll never, that energy, it seeps into the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Even if it's desperation, like I need this job, right? Yeah. You got to go in there and just make a fan. If it's not your job, at least make a fan from them. Like they will remember you. They will know you. They will know who you are because you went in and crushed it. That's
right. Because it's not just that job, but it's, you want the casting person or the producers or whomever, even if they go, you know what, that guy wasn't really right for this, but man, wow, I want to see him again or her again or whatever. So
true.
When I was radio for another role in the same project, which I've gotten. I'm sorry.
When I was growing up in the industry, my mom would, she didn't care who, white, black, Asian, Mexican, she didn't care. She was like, they don't know what they're looking for. And she would get us in auditions, It didn't.
That's you and your brother?
And me and my brother, my brother Edwin Hodge, who, that boy blowing up. He's woo! He's doing some great things right now. But yeah, for the both of us, my mom, she just had this thing where she just always thought they didn't really know what they wanted. And especially being, young black actors growing up, the opportunities were far and few, for those lead roles. And, she put us in there and damned if we didn't book them. Right. Because you gotta, sometimes they don't know what they're looking for. You gotta take a risk and change people's minds, and I think that's one of the life lessons that I truly took from my mom is that you just got to do something different. You got to think differently. You got to exist differently. We are unique beings in ourselves. Every one of the men on this panel, we have our successes for a reason. That's because we put in the work. That's because we built the relationships, and we continue to work on ourselves, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, because that we are our instrument. We are our tool for what we do. So yeah, sorry.
That's right.
No, for what you're saying, I read one thing and it was about getting smallpox blankets, and it was written with such anger and raw vengeance. And sometimes you young guys will read a thing, you won't agree with it, you won't know why. And I was like, why don't I agree with this anger and, this righteousness? And it suddenly dawned on me, and I was like, well, I lost my family. I lost 30 members of my family in about a week. I'm actually mourning. So the line, you brought the sickness, wasn't, it wanted to come out in this raw vulnerability that you brought the sickness. Just say it instead of the anger that was written. You know, you can easily just take that and then you got sickness and then yell it out. But my voice started to shake when it came out. I was at that fuck it point. I was like, I know that's not what's written. Send it in. I don't care anymore. And the creator of the show called me, said, we really like it. I'm pulling for you. And then he got me to send another tape. And he said, you didn't have to send that tape in. You got the role. And so that's eventually, you young guys, you're gonna find your own mode. You'll find your own truth. You're gonna find your own effort. This is how I want to tell the story. Off of what Edwin's saying, taking your choices, making your choices, and then eventually it's gonna strike a chord, and they will not be able. To me, I tell young guys, those first lines in the sides is whether or not they're gonna watch the rest of the tape. So those first lines have to be a first chord that just rips and riffs and everything, or captures them in an emotional way, or makes them laugh, or charms them in any way. So I did my stats, you young guys. I only booked 16.6% of the roles I went for. I failed 84.4%. It's actually, and it's funny. It's
pretty good odds, bro.
Yeah. That's what everyone else says. Because I booked my first role on a CBS miniseries, my first read, and I don't know. I feel like I do have, but at the time, I didn't think there were good stats, and I thought working a 9 to 5 for this long was failure when it was just prepping me for a thing, and it took me 20 something odd years to finally get here. To be working 2 features back to back, only home in Canada for 6 days. And it takes a strong heart, a strong soul, and it takes a beating. This heart takes a beating. Like, we get passed up for life-changing roles. And then for me, I went back to swinging a hammer, and then I went back to being in charge of guys. But eventually I got called, I got the offer. I mean, for the young guys, I mean, it's hard to be humble and say, well, I don't want to name drop, but this is just for the young guys. When I got the offer for the Scorsese film, I cried. I straight up cried. I was like, my agent goes, you know who's in it, right? I was like, yeah. As Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, and it's like, you know who's directing? Martin Scorsese. And it's this moment, your heart just fills. 20 years I've been doing this, and I'm finally on this big movie. So that I just, you young guys, that's what that feels like. It takes about 84% of failure. You can do it. So that's what I just want to hand that off. Yeah.
Thank you. Jeremy, any words of wisdom you want to leave us with?
I got my kids are yelling at me, so I got to go.
All right.
No wisdom.
All right. Okay.
Those are the words when your kids yell at you.
Right there. My kids are yelling at me.
Yeah. I want to say thank you to all of you, Jon, William, Michael, Jeremy, Edwin. Thank you so much from the foundation, and to all actors who will be watching this tape and learning and being inspired. You were very inspiring. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I got a fist bump. I'll get a fist bump.